Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Steven from the BS Show, and if you haven't heard yet, Sage Northcutt has officially been released from the UFC. His contract is up, and Dana White on the Undisputed podcast said that they aren't re-signing him, which is kind of interesting because they put a lot of money and time into this kid. He was the first one who blew up big off of the Dana White's Looking for a Fighter show, and he looked pretty good, promising. You know, he's a young, handsome kid, looks like a freaking Ken doll. And he had a couple ups, couple downs, but I guess he wasn't consistent enough and winning enough for the UFC to keep him around, which is good because a lot of fighters who fail in the UFC and go out and do what they have to do in different organizations, a lot of times they become well-rounded, like the Robbie Lawlers or the Rumble Johnsons. You know, these guys leave the UFC for a while from some shortcomings, and then they find their feet and build some traction, and then once they get back in the UFC, they're monsters, and they're running through people fighting for titles and maybe even winning titles. So who knows, maybe we'll see Sage Northcutt back here in a couple years, and maybe he'll be a whole new monster, because the kid does have some pretty slick stand-up. He just needs to bring all those skills together, you know what I mean? His ground game still needs a little bit of work. He still needs to get that confidence because he has the skills and technique. I feel like he just needs that confidence. You know, he's a little too nice for his own good. He needs to get that dog. So hopefully when he comes back and he's back in the UFC, if he does come back, and yeah, hopefully we see some much improved changes from Sage Northcutt. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that was a good idea from the UFC to let go of Sage Northcutt, or do you feel like they should have kept him around? Because he did have a following from the Dana White's Looking for a Fight show. I mean, to me, I felt like he didn't quite live up to what his expectations were, personally. I mean, he was a good fighter, fun to watch because I knew of him and I had some invested interest because I saw where he came from. But yeah, I feel like he has a lot of growing to do, and hopefully he's still training with Team Alpha Male, because I'm sure those guys will whip him into shape and he'll be a contender in no time. He's still young and he has a lot of time ahead of him. So yeah, guys, Sage Northcutt has officially been released from the UFC, and we will see where he goes in the future. Anyways, guys, I'll talk to you later. Peace.